An independent audit now bolsters allegations that James O'Keefe misused funds that were donated to Project Veritas, a nonprofit that he has since been ousted from. It's also a nonprofit that he founded. Now, the report was compiled by Dorsey and Whitney, a firm hired by Project Veritas's board in the wake of O'Keefe's departure this past February. And so let's get into the details of what this independent audit discovered. So there was $208,980 worth of luxury black card travel over just a 2-year period. There was a $600 haul of bottled water during just one hotel stay in San Antonio. I mean, he likes to stay hydrated, that's good, but maybe don't use $600 in funds from Project Veritas for your like weird water consumption. Like $600 is insane. But nonetheless, there was even a $2,500 set of DJ equipment. O'Keefe, this is my favorite. O'Keefe dreamed of playing a set at Coachella, according to 2 former employees, and was irritated when his staff couldn't get him booked at the legendary California Music Festival. And look, to be fair, I don't know why I keep calling him Kevin. James O'Keefe does have some musical talent. I don't want to be unfair. I think unfairness is just uncouth, and I'm not in favor of it. So to be fair to O'Keefe, let's show the fine people what his musical genius really consists of.
I just can't believe that my face is on TV. Oligarchy, am I left or right? M-O-G-O-P. Oligarchy, do I have faith in truth? Does truth have faith in me?
James O'Keefe is suing Twitter for defamation.
Project Veritas taken down because they confronted a Facebook executive.
Take a video like that down, it would be due to a doxing concern.
I can show you a video of CNN doing the exact same thing.
Twitter made factual statements about our client that are false.
Oligarchy, Twitter, CNN, Zuck is working with Dorsey. Oligarchy.
Clearly very talented. I too would be upset if my talent was wasted and my staff couldn't secure a slot at Coachella for me to perform, you know? What do you think?
Yeah, just because you don't recognize any of the DJ names, James, doesn't mean that you can just be one of them, all right? Like he's so cringe. And look, I've gotten in trouble by talking about James O'Keefe. Why? Because the dude has searches on his name, and every time you do a story about him, like I did about him on the damage report, all of the people who he has bought, all the bots who are in some, like their parents' house in like, Moldova or wherever the hell they are, like they're all coming after you. They're like, oh, James O'Keefe is really cool and smart, and you're stupid and dirty. Like, so I hesitate to even opine. But yeah, bro. You're disgusting inside and out. You trying to take down Acorn, right? You successfully. You trying to get like Planned Parenthood to admit that what they're like, eating the fetuses that are aborted or whatever the hell they're trying to do. And his own company iced him out for behaving horribly, being abusive in the workplace. Oh, and lo and behold, financially, he's a mess. He's spending $600 on bottled water in a single stay. Come on now, right? Like, and then of course he's got a new venture called something like OK Media or OK, I don't know, something dumb, right? And it's so cringe. He's calling on Twitter to be like, hey, you want to be part of the team? Just buy a little hidden camera from Amazon and you can join my. You're so sad, dude. You're so sad.
So he did, after getting ousted from Project Veritas, he did go on to create a different organization where they sell videos, like instructional videos for $600 a pop, if I'm remembering the details correctly. But let's get back to this independent audit because I do think that it shed some light on why the board at Project Veritas ousted him in the first place. For instance, in August of 2022, according to this audit, James O'Keefe needed to get to Maine for a sailing trip. Rather than take a commercial flight for roughly $200, the conservative undercover video activist directed his employees to book a $12,000 helicopter flight direct from New York to the seaside town of Southwest Harbor using funds donated to Project Veritas. Yeah. So there's some real questions about whether he complied with laws that prohibit nonprofit leaders from essentially using the organization's funds for personal benefit. I mean, by the way, it seems like this kind of misuse of funds was going on for a while, right? But my read of it and my opinion of it is he got way too brazen, way too greedy. The $12,000 helicopter trip is just so egregious. And what's incredible is how much money Project Veritas took in and how much they raised through donations. For instance, in like 2021 alone, they raised over $21 million. And I'm not talking about investments. I'm talking about people who are like, we like what you're doing. Here is some money. And he took that money and paid for $12,000 helicopter trips so he can go on his little, sailing adventure. Unbelievable. In an August 18th meeting, board chairman Joe Barton told staffers that he was concerned that the audit, if made public, could trigger an IRS investigation or even force the shutdown of Project Veritas. And look, it wouldn't be the first time the organization was embroiled in controversy. For instance, last year, 2 Florida residents pleaded guilty in connection to an FBI probe into the theft of a diary belonging to Ashley Biden that ended up in the possession of Project Veritas during the 2020 campaign. They never did anything with it. But during that investigation, agents searched O'Keefe's New York home and seized electronic equipment. He was not charged with the crime in that case. But the absolute worst allegation goes as follows. So Project Veritas's office, this is insane, was flooded in September of 2021 due to Hurricane Ida. Mm-hmm. Now the staff scrambled to save equipment and their own lives. One elderly employee was briefly pulled underwater and had to be rescued by colleagues. But O'Keefe had already left the scene, asking employees to prioritize his own evacuation so he could make it to Virginia for a performance of the musical Oklahoma, in which he had the lead role. Don't worry, everything will be okay, O'Keefe told his employees, according to the recollection of a staffer cited in the audit. But help me get out of here. In 2022, Project Veritas admitted in a tax filing to improperly spending $20,500 moving some staff operations to Virginia during O'Keefe's time with the musical production for his convenience.
I mean,
wow.
The man is just like a walking ego trip. And it's just so crazy because, again, Project Veritas is a nasty, awful organization that is responsible for, basically infiltrates any kind of democratic or progressive organization, does all kinds of arguably illegal shenanigans. And yeah, they better raise money because they've had to dole out money in multiple court cases to people who they have wronged, people who they've wiretapped, people who they've filmed without their consent, right? Now, for those people to be like, nah, I think you've gone too far. We've been talking about Ken Paxton being taken down by his own Republican Party. You really gotta be that reprehensible, because it's just hey, let's focus on our mission and do this only to poor people, okay? That's what they really want to do. Let's do that. Let's focus on our mission of being misogynist.
Let me just be sorry to interrupt you, Francesca. Yeah. Look, I think unlike the Ken Paxton case, where you have Republican lawmakers in the state actually holding Paxton, another Republican, accountable for his actions. In this case, that's not what's happening, right? The Project Veritas board was concerned that the misuse of the nonprofit's funds could actually end up harming them legally.
Right.
Which is why they ousted him. They don't care about doing the right thing. They're just trying to save their own asses. That is my read of the situation.
Now, why do I think
that? So after he was ousted, they decided to promote someone on the board as the new CEO of Project Veritas. So in June, the board hired Hannah Giles as CEO, as she was part of the original Project Veritas crew going back to its beginnings, Her appointment was meant to appease loyalists upset by O'Keefe's ouster. Now get a load of this. Believe it or not, she considered bringing O'Keefe back. Wow. For all the bad blood though, Giles has raised the prospect of O'Keefe rejoining the organization. In a call with a Project Veritas employee, a recording of which was obtained by the Washington Post, she said O'Keefe lit the house on fire and shut the doors by blasting Project Veritas publicly after his exit. But she also entertained the possibility of a return by O'Keefe. I don't know that I could work for him, but I could work with him, she told a Project Veritas employee. So they get backlash from their fans, their followers after he's ousted. Yeah. And then they're like, we were worried about legal liability, but now we're worried about not having enough support and not getting enough donations. Maybe we bring him back. Like, it's just unbelievable.
Also, fun little cursory search of James O'Keefe also shows that Ginny Thomas once gave him an award, an impact award. That's fun. In case we didn't think that Project Veritas had actual pull and sway inside of DC and the highest court in this country. My God, I mean, these are the people that have been elevated in the last few years. And they have so much power. Psychos like this guy.
Well, that power gets to their head, and sometimes as a result of that, they brazenly engage in criminality and suffer consequences for it. So, I mean, I think that's what's happened to, like, Peter Navarro is a good example, right? Peter Navarro now facing actual contempt of Congress charges. I don't know if he's actually going to serve any time in prison for it, but he's pretty miserable. And there's a huge financial burden tied to having to defend yourself in court. All of those co-conspirators who attempted to overturn the 2020 presidential election, like it gives me a little more faith to know that no, there's still a system in place to hold people accountable, right? And so let's just try to savor it when we see the accountability.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.